Hello, great you're tuning in again. In this video we'll talk about intuition and improvisation. How can we start with improvisation? And how to become an intuitive player. Intuition is very important if you want to become a good musician. And we will talk a bit about music theory as well, just to blow your mind a bit because it's really interesting. But music theory is for me really just to facilitate my playing. And I'm not necessarily thinking about music theory all the time when I play. Of course, I have certain things in my head, but it's much more about muscle memory and the years of ear training and a bit of music theory, of course. As you know, I uploaded quite a lot of videos 2 weeks ago. I created these drone sounds in all the 12 keys, and I'm getting there right away. I had a ton of fun, of course, and but what's the point? Why did I do that? So first of all, one thing is to have a tool. I can always, if I have an internet connection, I can just jump onto my channel and play these drones and can practice over it. I can, with really any music instrument. Also with the Kalimba, of course, we will talk about the Kalimba. I can meditate over it. I made them around 3 minutes long, just a typical song length and a good length to improvise, so you don't improvise for an hour on the same drone. But that's what they're for. They are intended as a backing track to practice improvisation and ear training, interval training, and understanding different modes of your Kalimba. And that's what we get to now. So if you go to my channel, you find these tabs here: home, video, shorts, and playlists. And in playlists, I uploaded I created this playlist. It's called Drone Backing Tracks for all 12 keys. And if you go here, you find all the drone sounds I created. And I created them in all 12 keys. Just as a note, your Kalimba has only 7 keys or 7 notes. If you want to have more notes on your Kalimba, you might need something like this. This is a chromatic Kalimba. But don't worry really too much. There's a whole universe of different moods and modes, and we're getting now. This is really interesting, believe me. So now you will ask me why you start with F. Well, F because I organized these drones in the same way the circle of fifth is organized. This is a very simplification of the circle of fifth, but you can see here you have C, G, D, A, E, B, and F, and these are the same notes as on your Kalimba. And some of them are hidden here because they're not on your Kalimba. These are all the other notes which are not on your Kalimba. But all these other notes you have on your Kalimba. I can organize these notes in a pattern called the circle of fifths. As you remember, in one of the videos we said that the fifth is the strongest interval except the octave. The octave is just doubling the frequency. So C and C with a point on your Kalimba. Now, the fifth is the next most stable and strongest interval. And it also has the ability to move through all 12 notes. This is actually the only interval which can do that. And the fourth. So that's why you see here the fourth, because the circle of fifths is also circle of fourths, of fourth. So for you to better understand, we talked about that G is the fifth of C. Well, D is the fifth of G, and A is the fifth of D, and E is the fifth of A, and B is the fifth of E, and C is the fifth of F, as we know. So it's always the same interval. It's always the same interval. And I start with F because if I would start with C, I would go from C to G, D, A, E, B, and then I would need to jump through all the notes we don't have to get back to the F. So that's why I start with F, because it just makes more sense, really. By the way, the opposite of, or the inverse function of the fifth is the fourth. C is the fourth of G, G is the fourth of D, D is the fourth of A, and so on. So F is the fourth of C. And the fourth is almost like a mirror to the fifth, to the CG relationship. That's why it just makes a lot of sense to arrange it in that way. Back to your Kalimba, and we start with improvising over these, and you will be surprised on how many different modes and feelings there are inside your small little kalimba. We could argue that your kalimba is tuned in C major, the C major scale. It's tuned in C major, and the root note is C. Yeah, so, but what if I change my root? What if I change the root note? And that means I change all the relationship between the notes. And that's what we're gonna do now. We play over the drones to see how the shift of the root note changes the mood of the sound. And these are the modes of the C major scale. So we go through the modes of the C major scale. And you don't need to write anything down. It's just about listening. This first exercise should be all about creating awareness, intuition of the modes, and not necessarily learning the different intervals and the notes and so on. It's really about your ear. Playing on top of drones, there's no playing with drones or improvise over drones. There is not really there are no rules really. It's called playing, but of course you can start to play just the normal. You can play up and down. You can play down, of course. You can play sequences, and encourage you to just go back to to my other tutorials where I show sequences and other exercises. You can use all these, of course, but what's most important is that you just play. Now, you need to get used to it. So I would normally, if I go through and I would play a drone sound, if I would start to improvise, what you could do at the beginning is to focus on the root of that particular drone. The first one is F. By the way, my drone sounds, they're all a bit layered. They're not 100% only pure F. There's a bit of other intervals in there, but the root is always the note as shown on the name. So for example, the F drone, it's gonna be start from F, and then the G drone is starting from G, right? And then A drone starts from A. So this is one thing. You can basically focus on your root note and start to play the scale up and down from the root note. You can also focus on the main chord intervals. Main chord intervals are the third and the fifth. So for example, for C, if you play in a C drone, then your root chord is C, E, and G. And it's all laid out very simply next to each other. So C, E, G. If it's the F drone, it's F, A, C. If it's G, it's G, B, D, and so on. The kalimba is organized really, really clever to make your life much easier. So these are the two things you can look out for. Starting your scale, playing the scale up and down from your root note. That's the first thing. The second thing is incorporate your root key, your root chord, your root triad, is it called? Triad is a chord with 3 notes. And then a third advice I could give you is to look out for halftone steps. A halftone steps is, for example, EF. There are actually just 2 half steps in the whole kalimba, which is EF. A whole step would be, for example, C and D. But EF and C, B and C. These intervals will play a very interesting role in all of your drone. drone exercises. They will kind of determine a lot of the character of this certain of your mode we are in. And modes are basically just shifting the, when we talk about modes, we're basically just shifting the root node or the center of gravity to a different node than C. C would be the first mode of the C major scale. That's C major, but it's also C Ionian. I'll just throw these names out to you, so don't worry about it. Don't really care about too much. But yeah, let's just start. And how we're gonna do this is like I go here on my phone. I have my playlist, and I just click F. And we're already here, and I'll play F. And now I'm gonna start to play. And again, I could start now with playing from the root node. These are two Fs. I'm just really just playing with it. Now I try to incorporate the triads. The triad is the F triad. And now let's look at the halftone steps. We have the E and the F. Sounds very exotic, has a very exotic feel. Now let's go through the C major scale. That's what we're already familiar with. Again, I can just play the C major scale up and down. For example, a sequence. Now let's look at the chord, the C major chord, which is the C, E and G. Again, now let's have a look at the halftone intervals, which is again E and F and B and C. So for example, if I play now the C chord, so there's this natural tension. Of course, you can spend as much time as you want, but I will jump now in the G. G is here. Listen to this. It sounds very vintage, I would say. Almost like, you know, it reminds me always a bit of some older days. Jimi Hendrix, Beatles, Led Zeppelin. Again, we can play the G scale, which is called G Mixolydian, by the way. F was the F Lydian, and G is the Mixolydian. Just a side note, don't worry too much about it. But very interesting here is the F. Again, can play the G scale up and down. The G chord. And we could add the fourth here. Sorry, the dominant 7. It's called the dominant 7. That particular sound. I'm just doodling around, really. For me, it's really just to understand, listen to different qualities and moods. And now again, let's have a look at the halftone interval. Pretty cool. Okay, let's jump into D. D. This is our first minor mode. It's called D Dorian. For example, Uptown Funk from Bruno Mars's D Dorian. It is a minor key, so it has a bit of a sadness, but it still has the major 6, and that's why it has this funky feel. Let's look at the chord. Now this is a D minor chord, and if we play the C, we have a minor 7 chord. Again, let's have a look at the interval. And I went back to the D. Let's jump into A. The A minor. This is another minor key. It's the Aeolian. A for Aeolian. And it's a much darker one. It's also the 6 is a minor 6. So it has a minor 3rd and a minor 6. And now let's look at the chord. Again, if we add the G here, then it's an A minor 7 key. Same as the D minor 7 key as we played it before. So D minor 7 is this. And A minor is the same, it's really the same, just starting with A. And you could play now a melody on that side and hear just the comping, just the chord. It's very difficult now. Again, let's have a look at the halftone intervals. It's already over. Now we're going even into darker waters. E. Phrygian. E Phrygian. Actually, the flamenco scale is very, very related to that. Again, if I play the scale, sounds very exotic. Again, this is a minor key. If I play the chord, I have a minor 7 chord. And now again the notes, the half tone steps, C and B and F and E. Yeah, you could play forever on this really dark, exotic. And now we go to B. This is the last one. This is the most difficult to really realize because it has a lot of tension. Lots of tension. B Locrian. If I play the triad, it starts out as a minor triad, but actually it's a diminished triad because I have 2 minor third intervals next to each other. So from B to D and D to F is a minor third. This is pretty hard, but again, let's play the scale. So I just played the triads all the notes I can find which are part of the triad, of B triad, B diminished triad. Now, you can, of course, continue with the playlist, but you will see it becomes just much harder to find notes which sound good. So if I go now in the F sharp, G flat, then that note doesn't exist on my kalimba. So it's gonna be a bit tricky to find notes which work. Let's stop here. I hope it gave you some insight on how you could start with playing over the drones. And please post any questions, anything you want to ask, because with questions I might get a better feeling of what you need, and we can discuss it maybe in the next video. But yeah, that's basically the drone videos, and the purpose and the reason why I uploaded these. They are really for me to practice and for you if you want, and I use them not just for the kalimba but also for my ukulele and my guitar, and for meditation and singing and so on and more. Of course, at some point we move on to this one, and then we can also use the other keys and play over these. So this is my chromatic kalimba. All right. Hope to see you next time.